So, I am not a professional photographer. I've owned a couple budget mirrorless cameras before, but I really don't know my way around a professional camera. But starting last week, I started taking pictures like this just using my Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. All these were taken with the default stock Samsung camera app in auto JPEG format. None of these were taken in RAW, and Pro mode was not used at any time. Besides a few touch-ups for just adding warmth and grain, these are basically unedited photos. Maybe some of you might not like the style of these, but seems like a lot of you did when I posted these on Threads and on YouTube. And personally, I'm in love with how these are turning out, and I wanted to share all the super easy settings, tips and tricks, and a very brief photo editing guide so you can try all this yourself on your own Samsung phone. If this is your first time watching the channel or if you've seen my videos before, I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to the channel. It's totally free for you and it really helps me out in keeping this channel up and running. Why I got into this topic in the first place is because I started getting jealous of the dynamic camera experiences on other phones. Xiaomi phones have their Leica tuned lenses and filters, which lets you choose your mood of photos, either Leica Authentic or Leica Vibrant, that take beautiful cinematic photos almost all the time. Apple's new iPhone 16 series lets you personalize the mood of your photos with photographic styles, where you can tune your tones and color profiles and set them as default. So you have a very personalized experience whenever you open the camera app. So I started digging into the settings on my Samsung phone to see if there's anything I can do for my own pics, and thankfully I did. I found some very easy tweaks that really anyone can do on most Samsung Galaxy phones. You don't have to follow all these, but here's what I did. Okay, first go to the Galaxy App Store and install Camera Assistant. This will give you some extra options in your camera app, which I'll go over in a bit. Then let's head over to the camera app and tap Settings. We'll start with intelligent optimization, where you can set your optimization level of choice. I have it set to maximum. Even though it supposedly adds more sharpening that people don't like, the maximum setting does get you the best dynamic range, and the S24 series this year overall takes fairly soft images, so the level of slight sharpening here is actually beneficial in my opinion. I also have Scene Optimizer off because it keeps overly tuning photos for different situations where the tone of my photos don't look very even across my pictures. Then swiping down, I have Tracking Autofocus off, mostly because it's a little too quick and good at tracking a subject in a photo. I'm just trying to take a street photo, but if someone moves, it kind of ruins the focus a little bit. So I like to focus on one area and keep things stable as much as possible when taking a picture. I have grid lines on to give myself that super helpful rule of thirds view when framing my pictures. In settings to keep, I keep these settings on so that they maintain as the default whenever I open the camera app. Since we have Camera Assistant installed, we can head into some additional settings here. Turn on the 2x zoom shortcut. This is super helpful for me as most of my photos are from about 1.2x to 2x zoom. I find 1x to be too wide angled on most if not all smartphones. Then for picture softening, this really depends on your Galaxy phone model. Like I said, the S24 series already goes for more of a soft look as default, so I don't feel the need to turn this on. But for previous S series phones, which actually do tend to over sharpen, making pictures look very processed, I do recommend turning this on to at least medium. Try taking some test shots. If you think it's still over sharpening the background details, turn this to high. Okay, back out from the settings and tap this button on the upper right corner, which will take you to the filters. This almost forgotten feature all the way back from the Galaxy S20 series is the key ingredient to the photos I showed off earlier. There are a lot of pre-installed filters and also a lot of the third-party ones available to download as well. At first glance, you'll see that most of them look really bad, almost disgusting. For some reason, the camera app defaults each filter to the maximum level of 10, making all of them look like ancient Instagram filters we used to use back in 2012. But when utilizing some of these filters in moderation, this changes the game in personalizing the camera experience for yourself. In fact, you can even create your own filter using a sample image. So if you really like a photographer on Instagram and you want to copy their photography style, you can screenshot it and have this feature attempt to create that filter for you. I won't say it always works, but when it works really well. The filter I used for most of the photos I showed at the start of the video was the Cardiff filter by Candid Camera, which you can just download for free. I keep it at level 2 most of the time and sometimes at 3. What Cardiff does is bringing contrast back into your photos while upping the highlights and giving cooler tones. So it makes shadows look more like shadows and the bright spots pop out more. Most smartphone pictures, especially Samsung photos, try to balance shadows and light sources a little too well, so a lot of the photos turn out looking gray or just very dull and there's a lot of noise in the images. This Cardiff filter basically is a fix for that, and I love the high contrast cinematic look I get out of this filter. The photos look much cleaner without any editing, and this is basically now my default camera setting that I have on all the time. The Cardiff filter isn't ideal for every situation since I don't want every single photo to look this contrasty, especially if I want to portray a nice sunny day. So for other situations, you might want to turn off the filters or try another filter you might want to go for. I thought the black and white filter was super cool. This one can stay at 10 so you get the full black and white effect. It's not a filter I'll use too often, but I've gotten some really cool shots with this. I think it's a refreshing one that gives you a fresh POV outside of what the default camera and the carded filter deliver. And to cap off on these filters, you can rearrange the order of these, so I like to keep these two filters pinned to the very left so I can quickly access them. Okay, these pictures using the carded filter are already looking pretty nice, and you really don't have to do any edits if you don't want to, but if you are interested, here's how I do a few tweaks on Lightroom to clean them up a little bit and make them look a little nicer. By the way, this is the free version of the Lightroom app. I don't have a subscription and anyone can use this for free. Alright, so let's first start with the light section. I like to up the contrast and highlights a bit if the filter didn't do it as much as I wanted to. I also lower the shadows and up the whites to reduce some noise that might appear in darker areas of the photo. Then in color, since this filter has cooler tones, I like to increase the warmth just a little bit to make it look more natural. In effects, I like to slightly decrease clarity since there still is artificial sharpening for a lot of the photos, and I want to make the pictures look a little more natural. And finally, I increase the grain to get that subtle film-like look. That's basically it for all the little tweaks that I do for photos taken with the carded filter. Like I said, this is all super easy stuff from someone who's not a pro or expert about photography. If you like how this looks and you want to save this edit preset for yourself, you just create preset and name it whatever you want. So yeah, that's it for the guide. This video could have been a lot shorter, but I wanted to explain my entire thought process of each step, so if you have different preferences, you can do things differently, make those changes, and get your own style of images. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I really hope that this was helpful for those of you that like the pictures I've shared. If this was helpful, I'd appreciate it if you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or if you have some additional tips for me, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.